Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women of Dance. I am your host, Sharonne Vinokurov, and I'm really looking forward to today's episode. Not only is our guest a mentor to me and someone I admire and look up to immensely, but she is a pioneer. She is a boss babe, a choreographer, and she's one of the organizers of the biggest Latin dance competition in the world. So without further ado, let me bring to the stage, or the screen, I should say, my fabulous guest today, the incomparable Katie Marlow. Hello.
Oh my God, I'm blushing.
Good. That's my goal. I need to make my guests feel warm and loved.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's so good to see you. I'm
You
so
too.
happy to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. I know this is your busiest time of the year, with Summit being just around the corner, literally next week. But I couldn't think of a better time to have you on than right before it. So thank you so much for
Well, thank
agreeing
you.
to do
It's
this
an
today.
honor.
So, I mean, I know a lot about you, but my goal is for everyone to get the lowdown on you. So let's take it from the very beginning. Why don't you tell everybody how your dance life began? So what was Katie doing when she was a little girl?
Okay, so officially, my first official dance lesson, I was 6 years old. I took ballet. I
Okay.
took tap. I didn't realize this. I mean, you're a kid. If you're in that world,
Mhm.
you'll know now. My first dance teacher was Judy Ann Bassing,
Oh,
who
wow.
is at Broadway Dance Center, one of the top tap teachers, like in the country/world.
Mhm.
And she was my first dance teacher. She made it
Wow.
so much fun for us. And I actually grew up with her kids and her sister.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, we went to the same schools, like elementary school and even through high school.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you have
Yeah.
a favorite from those styles growing up? Did you prefer like the jazz or the tap or the ballet?
Okay, so my very first recital, I was a Sugar Plum Fairy, but we did
Nice.
it in Greek. Um,
First recital, Sugar Plum Fairy. That's a big role.
well, it wasn't really. We just did the Nutcracker, and like there were groups of us, so that was our music. And I had a lavender costume, and I
Oh,
just thought that was the coolest thing,
yeah, I
right?
love it.
First tap step, shuffle while chain, shuffle hop step, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we leapt over shoes to learn how to do jetés. I mean, it was just great.
I love
And
it.
looking back on it, it was really special. And my best friend from when I was a kid, we were in this together. So we would go home and we would play and we would produce entertainment. We'd invite everybody in the neighborhood to come and watch our shows. We would dress up my dog in costumes and make her do tricks. And then we would have dance numbers that we choreographed. I mean, we were like
I
7,
love it. I
you
love
know?
it. Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
so great.
So, I mean, and oddly, she's in entertainment now too. She owns a very popular children's theater down here in Broward County.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Look
we
at that.
both ended up in entertainment. Who would
And you
think?
guys are still friends after all this time?
Well, her mother was a very close friend with my mother, who's unfortunately passed away, but we're still very much in touch. And so via that, yes, I would say we're still friends. And oddly, one of her sister's daughters is involved in the ballroom world now,
Okay.
making costumes for the ballroom dancers. It's just crazy how it all worked out.
It's
Who would
so
have thought
crazy.
in our neighborhood this would happen,
I
right?
know, right? I
Yeah.
love it.
And after that, I think Judy decided to close her studio. I think she must have moved to New York at that point. And then about a year later, both of our mothers enrolled us in jazz classes. And crazily enough, and who would think, our jazz teacher was a gentleman named Joe Michaels. And
Really?
Joe Michaels is the father, like when we had recital, he had a North studio and a South studio, and we would all get together for the rehearsal, and he would bring his daughters who were in the show. The whole family was in the show. His daughters were Dana and Mia Michaels.
Oh my God.
Is that crazy?
That's
And
so crazy.
As a kid, who knew this? But he had us dancing, and when we were old enough, I was probably around 12 or 13 by this time, he would take us and we would perform in the hotels on Miami Beach.
Wow.
But this was just like something that my mother was like, look, you're going to be a well-rounded child, and you're going to be a Girl Scout, and you're going to take dancing lessons, and you're going to play guitar. I mean, it was just one of the things. And I never really thought about it back then, but golly, I was really blessed.
Yeah.
I mean, the instruction that I got, who knew, right?
But it's wonderful that your parents immersed you in so many things when you were a child, like your appreciation for the arts and all of that. It's profound what that does for a child when they're growing up.
Right. It was really special. I mean, again, all this time, I mean, we were doing choreography in the living room for all our friends. You know, it's just what we did.
Yeah,
Dressing them all up, and you know. And then when I was 12, the Summer Olympics happened, and I saw gymnastics for the very first time. Well, there was a kid in our neighborhood named Danny Atkinson, and she could do a back handspring, and I just thought that was the coolest thing I ever saw. And I started trying to do it even if I fell on my head. I didn't care. But,
fearless from day one. I love it.
It was crazy. Yeah, we were all doing cartwheels and headstands and, you know, whatever it was, swinging from vines. We had a neighborhood with a lot of trees.
Nice.
But, but when I saw the Olympics, something happened, and I had to do that. Between Olga Korbut and Ludmila Tereshcheva, it was just something I had to do. And so I found out that there was gymnastics at the local high school on Saturdays, and I went there. And by that time, I was I must have been in 8th grade at that point. Anyway, my freshman year in high school, I basically talked my way onto the varsity gymnastics team. I didn't really deserve to be there, but I talked the coach into taking me.
Nice.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I love it.
And at that point,
I love it.
Isn't that crazy? So I talked him into it. I was the only freshman on the team because there was a junior varsity, but I didn't want to be on that one. Anyway, at that point, the team went for practice every afternoon. So I then had to make a choice between the dance and the gymnastics. And also we had a really strong theater department in my high school. And so I had taken some drama classes, and they kind of wanted me to go in that direction. I had to kind of make a choice, and I decided to do gymnastics.
Okay.
So I did that. I remember Joe Michaels telling my mother, it's going to ruin her back. Don't do it. But we did it anyway.
I love it.
Yeah.
So how long were you in gymnastics for?
Oh, wow. A really long time. I mean, that I became totally immersed in. I did gymnastics all throughout high school, and I ended up getting a scholarship to University of Michigan, and I did it my freshman year. Okay. It was so cold up there. I had never, because I'm from Florida, right?
Yeah.
So I had never experienced snow, you know, and like Michigan, I don't even know it. We were right off Lake Michigan. It was so cold. It was like, it made New York look warm, right?
That's a culture shock right there in and of itself.
Yeah, it was crazy. And you know, I didn't have a car. I mean, I was walking to and from practice, and it was windy and freezing. I mean, I remember in our dorm room, the window, we would open it up because the heat was so hot, and then it would freeze open, and we'd have to take our blow dryers and blow dry the window to close it again.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
and I
hilarious.
totally was not ready for that. I mean, again, your blood kind of, I guess it's true, your blood must get thin down in Florida.
Most.
But we were our practices happened in the old ice arena for the girls gymnastics team. So I remember I would come off the bars for a dismount and I would hit the mat and the pains would just go shooting up through my legs because it was cold. I don't know if that ever happens for you. But
That sounds like it would not be the best place to practice gymnastics, because I would think
no,
you
it
would want
wasn't.
warm, so your muscles would be warm. Like,
Yeah, you would think, right?
you would think, but
And
let's do
back in those
gymnastics
days,
on an ice skating rink. Sure. Okay.
yeah, and we didn't have polar fleece back then, right? And like the equipment was a little bit different, but it turned out that I had sustained an ankle injury when I was in high school, and I had just kept working on it, and it turned out that if I was going to compete in my sophomore year, I would have had to have surgery.
Ugh.
And that summer, when I came home, Saturday Night Fever had come out that February where we were. And I walked into a nightclub in Hollywood and saw these people doing hustle. And I turned down my scholarship and I didn't go back the second year. I transferred schools. Yeah, I discovered hustle. There's more to it than that, but let's just say I was totally mesmerized by it. And I decided that I was going to do that. And I knew that I couldn't do that in Michigan. So I don't even know why, but I became obsessed. Like, you know how people become what?
There's something about it that just connected with you. And that was it.
Well, it's like when you start doing salsa, right? And you get the fever, right? And you've just got to keep doing it, right?
Yep.
And remember, well, you wouldn't know, but at that time, that was the disco era, and it was the height of it. And there were dance contests in all the clubs, and there were television shows that focused on it, like Dance Fever, and Billy was on. He was on Don Kirshner's every Saturday, right, late at night, and I mean, so it was a thing. And I became obsessed. I was out every single night till like 5 a.m. Wow. And I kept transferring. I transferred back to University of Florida for my sophomore year. And then that wasn't close enough. And I came back to Miami for my my junior and senior years in college.
Wow.
Just so I could dance.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what was the next step? You came home and you decided to make it a career right away, or?
No, I didn't make it a career. It was just, I mean, I never even considered dance as a career because in my house, that was never something you did as a career. This was an extracurricular activity. You would get a real job, a real profession, right? My father was a dentist, right? And I grew up in an area where, everybody had a quote unquote profession, a real one, which, was not in the arts.
Of course. The irony of them putting us into dance at such a young age, but then saying, don't make a career out of it.
Right.
The irony of it all.
I know, it's really funny. So what I would do is I would go, okay, well, I'm just going to live at home and I'm going to finish school. Because at one point I was like, I don't need college. I'm just going to go dance. And of course, my mother was like, no, I don't care. You will finish. I don't care what you have to do. Yep. So I had a job, like I was working at a department store to make money. And then I was going to school full time because I needed to graduate on time because that's what you do.
Of course.
And then every single night I would find what club was happening and I was there. And I can't even tell you how many times I broke night. And then some of the guys, like, back then there were no real formal lessons, at least not where I lived. So basically what would happen is you would go and you would sort of dance at your level. And you would hope that somebody better would look at you and say, oh, that person's pretty good. Let me try them. I guess it's the same now, right?
It is essentially kind of.
So somehow I started to improve and the people who sort of were like the top dancers somehow found out that I had my splits and that I could do things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this meant that, oh, I could go up in the air. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
there's contests. So I started to get partners. And then we started to enter these contests at night, and we would win.
Do you
I would do
know the
something.
first person? Do you remember the name of the first person you competed with?
Yeah. When I was in college in Gainesville, I went to Jacksonville for a competition with a guy named Fabio.
Okay.
He was just another student, more or less a social dancer. I came back. I had a boyfriend, and I never entered the contests, but my sisters were also dancing. We all danced. Like there were 3 girls. So if I did it, they did it, right? And we all did gymnastics. Yep. So I had a boyfriend that I met, and he was a dancer, and his friends were also dancers. And one of them started dancing with my sister, and they had the Dance Fever auditions.
Okay.
So my sister was the first one to do the Dance Fever auditions, and she made it to the finals because they put a back handspring in their routine, and well, that was way cool back then. So, and then I started dancing with a guy named Paco.
Okay.
And the next year, like, we were doing some competitions, and we made it to the Dance Fever finals, and then there was another guy in those finals, and he ended up becoming my partner and my very dear friend to this day. And his name was Manny Navarro. Okay. And Manny, we started hanging out, and Manny was from New York. And so his friends were coming down from New York. Okay. And so the style that they did down in Miami wasn't quite as up to date. Like, it would be in New York back then, and about a year or 2 later, it would get here, right?
Gotcha. So
the New Yorkers were coming down, and they started to teach me New York style. And so then I had a new guy, a new boyfriend, and he was a big guy, right? And he insisted that I dance with him, which I didn't want to, but I was like, okay. So we did. But then we started doing lifts like people down here couldn't do, because he was big and I could do them. Mm-hmm. Right? So again, the next year, we went into the Dance Fever auditions, because that was like a big deal, and made it to the finals. And we were there, and during that finals, Denny Terrio was here, of course. He was the host of that show. And there was a professional dance company that came out during intermission, and they were more like jazz and modern based, right? Okay. What you would call contemporary now. Back then we called it modern, right? They did Horton technique. Okay. Anyway. So they came in and they did a show, and just coincidentally, I didn't make it to the show because they had already cast their hustle dancers out of New York City, of course. But just strangely enough, I decided that year, it was my final semester in college, that I was going to go take jazz classes again, because I hadn't done that in a really long time. Okay. So I went into this studio, and there was a dance of like a very like a well-known modern company down here called Fusion, and a guy from Ailey named Maurice White was now running this company down here. Okay. And I went in to take some classes, and oddly enough, he had seen me at these auditions and he remembered me. And he took me that summer, and it was my final semester in college. This is also coincidental. And he put me in his junior company. Okay. And that junior company was there every single day. And I was totally immersed. It was like going to an intensive up in the city, right? For the whole summer. Isn't that crazy?
That's so crazy. I love it.
Yeah, and then they had a recital at the end of the summer, right? They invited everybody, and I actually got featured with my partner because we did all the lifting. They did a thing from The Wiz, and so there
Nice.
was a section in there, huh?
Nice.
Yeah. So we did that, and then I graduated, and then that's the official start of my real professional career when I graduated. But I have been doing stuff all along.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah, that
career
was
begins.
a long time ago.
The career begins, and you've been traveling. Tell me about the pairing of you and Billy.
Okay.
Because I
So,
want to get to your videos.
okay. Sorry,
And
I didn't realize. Gosh, we're moving along here.
we
Okay.
are.
Me and Billy. Okay, so I had this dance company. I opened it up in 1995, and we did corporate entertainment for special events, very high-end stuff. I mean, Fortune 100 companies. Anyway, I had a friend of mine, and we were in business together out in San Diego, and we had co-produced a very large show. And at the time, I had met a guy, and we did, I started doing Hustle Cabaret with him. And we had a gig, and the music came in, and it was hustle music. And I said to my friend, I'm like, look, I've got this guy. I'm dancing with him. I'm going to bring him out for this gig, and we'll do this. And he said, okay. So we did. And the second my partner saw that, he had never seen anything like this before, this Hustle Cabaret stuff. He's like, that's it. We're putting it in the show. And at the end of the summer, or maybe it was about a year or so, my partner kind of had a meltdown, and we split up, and we had shows coming up, and my associate was like, look, you better find somebody because we have gigs. So I went on a nationwide search to find somebody. And I had almost given up. I finally, as a last resort, went up to New York with a girlfriend of mine, and there was an event at the time produced by Maria Torres and Deborah Hampton and Dave Cerule called Hustle USA. And Billy was there. And I had never met him or seen him before, even though I had been involved in the hustle community at that point for many years. Anyway, I took one look at him. He had his back to me, and he was talking to some people, and I stopped in my tracks, and I said to my girlfriend, I'm like, do you know who that person is? And she said, no. I said, I don't know who he is either, but I think that's my next husband. Swear to God. And then, I mean, I had no idea this guy could even dance, right?
Oh my God, I love that.
Is that crazy? And then I found out who he was. And at the time, Billy was very standoffish. I mean, you can make your decision about whether he still is, but at the time with me, he was very standoffish.
Okay.
But I somehow, I think I finagled an invitation and from a friend of mine. I mean, not an invitation, an introduction from a friend of mine, and he wasn't really interested in talking to me because I wasn't in that group. But at the time, I dropped a few names of people that I knew he would know and respect, and he was like, oh, okay. And then the next day, I somehow finagled to be rehearsing in a place that he would be, because I knew that he was a good potential candidate to fill this part as my partner for these gigs, right?
I love it. Look at you're just so amazing. I know, like, we're talking and all this, and I love everything you're saying, but this, can we just, I mean, my God, this routine leaves me speechless.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, come on. Talk about everything coming together, right? Your ballet training, your gymnastics, your jazz, like just coming to life in this one beautiful form of, like, I mean, look at this.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, it's easier for me to see it now than it was back then, because of course you look at it, you see everything you did wrong.
Of course. Oh, we are always our own biggest critics. Always.
Yeah.
But like, when you tell me about your background and then I watch a performance like that, I'm like, it all makes sense.
Well, it was both of us, actually. I mean, Billy came out of ABT, right? I mean, he had his own story for the 80s, and I'm sure a lot of people know that. But I think both of us were sort of primed to do this, right? We had both been working up to this and had the abilities, and with the right training, it happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Because nobody does that alone.
Oh, right? No.
There's a team of people that makes that happen. It's not just Billy and myself. It's a group of people.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when it's something like this. What was it like for you guys putting stuff together? Was this your first routine?
No.
This was the earliest one I could find on YouTube.
Yeah, there might be more. I mean, I don't know if people posted from the ballroom world. There might be some. We were competing back in 2000, 2001, 2002. So that was before the YouTube era.
Yes,
right?
Yes, I know. I looked.
Yeah, there's lots of video, but I guess unless you know what to look for, and I'm not the best at posting all this stuff. No, what happened was after we had met in New York, we met in a cafe on 57th Street, and I proposed to Billy that he come and work for me in my company because I had gigs, and he wanted to compete. We were not a couple yet, and I thought foolishly that I would be able to do that in my spare time in the summer to compete. And little did I know what it was going to take. At the beginning, Billy had been doing a lot of research on, he wanted to compete in the ballroom world. Okay. And he decided that with me, what he wanted to pursue was the cabaret division, and he wanted to go to Blackpool. And he made some predictions to me. The path he wanted to take was, first we were going to compete in Hustle, and we were going to come back the following year and win Hustle USA. Then we would retire from Hustle and we would compete in the ballroom world and whatever that entailed. And mind you, I had no idea about any of this stuff. I had been involved in the theater world, right? So this was all new to me. And he said, and if we don't win the world title within 5 years, then it's not going to happen. But I think we're going to win it. And I said, okay, what do I know? Let's do this. So it's true. Sounds like fun. Let's try it. As long as you can cover my gigs, I'll do whatever you want.
I love it.
Yeah. But we had actually our first cabaret routine that we competed with was to Stormy Weather.
Okay.
And we ended up the first time, well, we did come back the following year and we did win Hustle USA. We won all the divisions. That happened.
Yay.
So yeah, that happened. And then we started competing in the straight cabaret division in the ballroom world. And our first competition, I mean, I was so nervous. I just got thrown to the wolves, basically, right? I mean, looking back on it now, and yeah. I mean, you've competed in the ballroom world, you know what that's about, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of times these people are, they've been at it for years, and then they finally get into the professional divisions, right? Mm-hmm. So we were older and we didn't really have that time. Also, a lot of these people knew Billy from back in the day. So when we were first starting to come back, our first competition that we did was at Roseland in New York City. Okay. And so there was a television program on on Lifetime, I think it was, and they decided to do a feature on us. And we got out there. It was just, I was terrified. My legs were shaking. Okay, so this clip is later. This was not at the beginning. But that's one of our, I think that's one of our hustle routines. I think that is. Yeah, that's the bongo song. So anyway, but it was scary. We didn't make it to the final. They also had a hustle thing that night. It was our very first competition. We took third.
Okay.
And then we worked. And then our next thing, I think that we did over the summer, we got some coaches. We started coaching with a couple out in Sarasota, Wilson and Margaret Barrera. And the reason Billy chose them was because they had also been proteges of Augie and Margot Rodriguez, who 6 Degrees of Separation have a lot to do with modern day salsa, right?
Yeah.
But Augie and Margot were Billy's mentors when he was younger. So it just was a natural thing. And Wilson and Margaret were really involved in ballroom. But they started coaching us, and that was when we did Stormy Weather. We did our first competition that September, the USDCs at the Fontainebleau. I was terrified. And he, you know, we just weren't there yet. We hadn't been together long enough. And we messed up and we didn't make the final, and we were both devastated. Somehow we switched coaches at that point. And by next spring, somehow Billy had finagled and we got an invitation to Blackpool. We hadn't even made a final in the USDCs yet, and we got an invitation to Blackpool.
Wow. That's something that is on many dancers' bucket lists.
Yeah. We went 4 times.
4 times?
4 times.
Oh my God, Katie. You lived out my dreams 4 times.
Yeah. The final time was pretty special. It wasn't the time that we placed the highest, but for us, we did a workshop. They have a series of workshops there taught by like the top people in the world at the Winter Garden. Mm-hmm. And we assisted our coach, Rufus Dustin. And the workshop was about how, what was it called? Latin the American way. And Dustin talked about the history of Latin and how the Brits came to America, and the hustle dancers were already doing a whole bunch of things, and they took it and they brought it back to ballroom, and it became famous.
Wow.
He used us in the lecture. It was pretty cool. And we got to do a hustle there at Blackpool. So that was amazing. So that happened. And then also at the pinnacle of that community, you can get asked, there's a show that they do about a week before Blackpool at a studio outside of London. And we were asked to be part of that show. And it was us, it was Slavic and Karina, it was Derek Huff and his partner at the time, Julianne Huff and Marcus. I mean, it was crazy. And us. And a Japanese couple, and we were the show.
Unbelievable.
So to me, that was like a huge, huge honor to be asked to do that. And then we got to have dinner with our coach at Bill and Bobby Irvine's house outside of London, and he cooked. He made shepherd's pie, and we all had dinner, and it was awesome. And that's, you know, you talk about highlights. That was special and amazing, and they're not even with us anymore. Oh, so we were really blessed to be able to have that.
It's amazing what dance brings into our lives and the opportunities that it gives us that we just never would have imagined would be possible. It's such a blessing to be able to do what we do. I want to ask, since you've done both, and you do come, because you come from like gymnastics and all this, you are, I feel like, competition inclined, but do you like competing, or would you rather just perform? Like, some people are anti-competition and they do it because they have to, and some people really love it. I know for the most part, we all love to just perform, but do you like competing, or if you could have avoided it, you would have?
I probably could have avoided it, but you know what? It does bring something. It promotes excellence more than anything that I know. Even in a regular show, you're not going to strive for the excellence that you do and have the learning journey that you have when you compete. I mean, honestly, it took me years to stop being nervous and shaking. And when I get nervous, my knees shake and I lose my balance. So, I mean, I was terrified for years, but at the end, I learned how to rise to the occasion.
Okay.
You know, and I think it was an important step to take me to the level where I got. I don't think if I wasn't competing, I don't think we would have produced like the snake number, right? Because you always have to be better.
Yes, absolutely.
And even now, I mean, you see the couples that have been competing at Summit and then maybe they're not anymore. And you look at them from year to year, it's hard to maintain that level. It really is.
Absolutely.
So it's a job. It's a full-time job to do that.
Absolutely. I love that he literally just pressed you on the ground. Just like as if it's a workout. Just doing a little exercise, but let's throw it in.
That is our exercise. That was our exercise. We used to do 50 of those a day.
I've taken workshops with you guys where you have the partners lay down to find their center and do that.
Yeah.
I remember and that's like such an interesting thing, but it's definitely an exercise, but you guys put it in a routine, which I think is just fabulous.
Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous.
I'm sort of losing you volume-wise. I'm not sure why. Are you there?
Oh, no. Yes, I'm here.
Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you faintly.
Okay. If you have headphones, you might want to add them on. I don't know if maybe that's not working, but.
I don't know where they are, but I guess I can kind of hear you. If you can hear me, it's fine.
Okay. This was another performance of yours. Unfortunately, the quality of the lighting isn't that great, but it's the Roma Salsa Festival.
Oh yeah, that was a big one. They used to get like 8,000 people, 15,000. I mean, that place was huge.
Is there a favorite place that you got to travel to?
In terms of what?
For work. Like, was there like a dream location that you got to go to, or a country or wherever that you were like, I never thought I'd get to be there, and oh my God, I'm here now?
Well, I mean, Blackpool 4 times is kind of a pinnacle. We ended up performing at the Great Wall of China for CCTV.
Now that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was quite the adventure. China's fascinating. On a fun level, for me, you know, places that I found to be like well produced, you know, places that I would go. Guatemala is always a fun one for me when we go. There's a nice one in Mexico City. I love the one in Bangkok just for social and fun. I think it's well done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if an event is well done, it makes it much better for us, right?
Yes.
You know, it's like to dance on you know, they'll provide you with a real floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Decent music, time to rehearse, you know, little things, comfortable accommodations, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I really love this piece. I love the elegance of it. And this seemed like a big fusion routine for you guys. I see.
Yeah, we used to do a Dancing in the Dark, Fred and Ginger, and then we had done another one, like sort of smooth style, called Moon Dance, you know, and then we took Moon Dance and we found a salsa piece that we could do something sort of jazzy like that, but it was salsa.
I love it.
And so this one was called Cookin' Mambo.
I love it. And the costume is beautiful. This is like the type of thing I remember growing up and watching on PBS, like the Blackpool competitions and ballroom, and looking at the beautiful dresses and just being like, I want to wear that one day. And then I found this video of you guys and I was like, oh, Katie had one of those dresses.
Yeah, I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. I mean, and I'm in agreement with this. Billy never really wanted to be pigeonholed into one style, and neither did I. So we worked, and I mean, commercially, it wasn't as always as successful. Like, you know, you do the snake and like, okay, top this one, right?
Yeah.
But we decided to do things that spoke to us, especially once we weren't competing anymore, once we were performing. So this was one of those things, you know? So
How,
yeah.
I have to ask, as somebody who flies in the air, how on earth did you decide to make a long skirt work for lifts? Because in my mind, I would never think of wearing a long gown to do cabaret stuff, but he had you up in the air with all that fabric.
Yeah, you have to learn how to work with it. And honestly, you know, old school ballroom, that's what they wore. You know, a lot of them wore that. So you learn, like there's two different styles of cabaret work,
Yeah.
right? One is leverage based, which is like the snake, and the other is rotational, and this routine is rotational. So this kind of skirt actually works better for a rotational thing. I mean, it was a lot. I had to rehearse in this, you know, to get it. And even sometimes when I did, you know, it would drape in front of his face, and he had to have a really strong sense of front.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. But what happens if it gets in his face?
You know, he dealt with it. There, you know, the show must go on.
The show
I mean,
must
look,
go on. Famous words for everybody. I
right.
love it. The
And
show
I know we've all had
must
our
go on.
share of bloopers, right?
Oh my God, have we all had our share of bloopers? For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
You gotta love a good wardrobe malfunction. I'm just kidding.
We've all had them.
We've all had them.
Lucky for me, mine has never been the boob thing.
I,
But I know
my-
plenty of people who've had that one.
I'm trying to think. I think I had it once, the boob thing. But the worst is the heel and the skirt.
Oh, I've had that.
That's the worst because then
Oh
you're just
yeah.
like stumbling to get it off of you.
Yeah.
Okay, see, now this is an outfit I understand for cabaret.
Well, you know, I mean, I can't take complete credit for this outfit. Our mentors were Augie and Margot Rodriguez. Do you know
Yes,
who they are?
yes.
Okay, so this routine, they actually gave us this music. This was their routine after supper, and they gave us the music, and we took it and we updated the routine for this era.
Yes.
But the whole costume thing, that's Margot. She did that first.
I love it.
So,
Incredibly sexy.
yeah, it's funny because it's a little deceptive too. I mean, honestly, it doesn't look like it, but I'm actually under that thing completely covered.
Oh, I know. It's an illusion.
Yeah,
It's which I love. It's you think that it's one thing, but really it's not.
yeah. But I mean, this is them, you know. And whenever we did it, I mean, we would even say, we would have the MC say that, you know, it was in honor of them
I love that.
because, you know, they were so influential
Mm-hmm.
to modern day salsa, you
Yeah.
know. And they also did cabaret. I mean, again, these were quote unquote dancers. I mean, Augie was in the pajama game on Broadway, you know. So aside from that, they did mambo, right? And they were on all the television shows and everything back then. Oh, this is Mentira. Okay. Again, rotational style.
Yes. Because again, long
So,
skirt. Well, not as long, but still long, flowy skirt.
yeah. And it's not a stretchy fabric. You know,
Really?
things that you learn as you go on about what's going to work and what isn't. And honestly, I mean, I would ask people who had done this work before me. I mean, there were some greats, and we were really blessed because a lot of them lived in Florida and knew Billy, and
Mhm.
we could go to them for advice. So I used to go to Tony and Gardella, who was Francois Zoni's partner. If you don't know who that is, you should definitely look him up.
Okay.
He passed away recently at like 93, but he is one of the all-time theater arts greats. And his partner used to give me tips about costuming, you know, when I was starting.
Okay.
Again, nobody does it alone, right? You
No, of
think you
course
can learn
not.
everything on YouTube. You cannot.
Of course not. Of course not. I want to talk a little bit about your work as a choreographer.
Okay.
So I have had the pleasure of having you choreograph for Darlin and I. You actually did our first hustle routine that we ever did for competition, but you work with a lot of other people, and you did at one of your events. I found a way to play this. I told you I was going to figure it out. I
Oh,
figured it
you
out.
did it.
I did it. Talk to me about this routine.
This one was a pleasure. What a group of performers, huh? Look at this crew.
I mean,
rehearsals were great. I would throw something at you guys and you go, okay, now what? I mean, there's a point in here where all of us are doing this overhead, or a few of them. I mean, who gets to do that? We picked this piece of music. You guys wanted to do a hustle piece, so I just kind of threw it at you.
You really did.
And here we are.
You threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at us with this one, Katie. You definitely did.
Yeah, but look what we got. It was great. I mean, I believe we got a standing ovation for this, didn't we?
We did. I just remember you messaging me and Darlin and saying, you were going to put this together, and you asked us to be a part of it, and you told me who was going to be in it. And I just remember looking at Darlin and going, I'm going to share the stage with my idols. We need to practice this like crazy. I will not be the weak link out there. Like, I need to look good for these ladies, because I've always looked up to all of you so much that, I kid you not, the idea of performing on stage with you guys gave me a heart attack. Like, I was panicked.
Well, you know what the hardest part of this one was for me is that everybody lived in different places. I mean, Shay was in LA. I think we had 2 rehearsals before we had to come and do this. And you guys were in Philly. The ones who got to rehearse the most together were the New Yorkers. But I mean, we had just hours to get together on site and put this thing together. Do you remember that?
I remember we got there early at IHSC. We came like the night before. We rehearsed at the studio. We did like one more rehearsal in the space where we like teched it out, and we did all that. And then that was
that was it. You better think fast, right?
That was it. There was no like real prep, but we wanted to do a good job for you, all of us, because we thought this choreography was so beautiful. Like, the music was very classy and elegant, but fun. The costumes, everything just worked so beautifully. I think everybody had a feeling in there of just like, we got to nail this.
You guys did. I mean, I was so proud. I mean, this could never have happened if I didn't have the consummate professionals like that the troop of you were, right? Yeah. You are all amazing.
Thank you.
And cohesive, right? No egos. Everybody just wanted to get the job done. Makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you were doing the choreography, because we were not all together, who were you using to like actually put it together?
I went up to New York a couple of times.
Okay.
And I would get in there with Atoy and I think Elvis and mostly Edwin. I think Veronica came a couple of times. Okay. And we would sort of put this thing together. Again, I was dancing with Shay. So whoever couldn't make it, I would sort of pinch hit and, dance with this one, dance with that one. And we would sort of do formations that way. And I forget, did I come to Philly once to teach it to you guys or not? Or did you learn it on video? I can't remember.
We learned most of it on video. And then we saw you at Connecticut before it. And we had like a little review, because when you sent the video, you sent us the choreo, but not the lift.
Okay, yeah.
So you were like, there will be, in the video, you were like, there's going to be a lift here. And then we're going to pick it up here. And we were like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
We got this.
But isn't that amazing? I mean, these were not baby lifts that we did, right? This was real stuff.
This was real stuff. And
we all did it.
And that wasn't the first production. You put on a lot of these for the 20th anniversary of IHSC. You guys did a big production. I mean, I can't show the whole thing because it's just too long, but it was a whole hour and a half, I think, show with an intro number, with different parts, and then like different companies were coming in and doing entire routines. Like I remember the Descarga Latina ladies performed. Who else? Jonathan performed with Roy. Like
everybody who was anybody who was at our event. I mean, IHSC had this dinner show thing going. This was 20 years of this, right? And early on, we used to do book shows. Then we got away from that and started doing more of a review type thing because it was simpler. But because of this final, like this 20-year thing, I decided to go back to a book show. And again, I'm so blessed. I had some of my friends come in and help out with the choreo. So we had Richard Amaro, who is Chita Rivera's choreographer. Herman Payne, who's with the Miami City Ballet and Broadway. And I mean, he used to dance for Michael Jackson. I mean, he was another one. My friend Kenny Samuels, another Broadway veteran. I mean, I had the help of these incredible people, and we put this thing on. I mean, without, like, again, my ensemble, you guys were all over the country.
Yep.
We had like no time to put this thing together, and everybody just kind of rose to the occasion, and we did it.
It was like the year before, but on steroids, because there were so many more people. I mean, we had costume changes. It was like a whole like real production. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, this is not, I mean, yes, it was a big one. But historically, like I had been doing this production of like different stories. The show changed every year.
Yeah.
But we did one every single year. And this was something that was unique to IHSC. I don't know if something like that would ever even happen again. I wish it would, but I don't know.
I wish it would. I mean, so fun to get to do all these different things. And it was just such a pleasure. I mean, stressful as all heck. Like you said, we had no time. This was also the same night that some of us were competing as well in championships. So like, you know, the stress, but the fun of it all. Again, you know, you want to do a good job. You know, we know the work that you put in. We know we all knew what it meant to be part of this for the 20th anniversary. So, you know, but the show must go on and you got to get it done and you got to do it with a big smile and all the stank attitude possible.
Do you know what? This is the first time I've ever really seen this. I've never had time to sit there and watch it.
Well, I had to upload this from a video that I had because I couldn't find video of it on YouTube. So one of my students had sent this to me after IHSC, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to upload it to my Katie playlist for the show, and I'm going to show it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Because again, look at it. I mean, so many moving pieces.
Yeah, this show, I mean, it was what do you call it? Like the showcase piece of IHSC. IHSC was such an unusual event. There was nothing ever like it, ever. I don't know if there ever will be again.
I think that's like a perfect segue, right? Let's talk about IHSC, how it came to be. It celebrated 20 years last year, right? This was the trailer, I believe, for 2008.
Okay.
I couldn't find an earlier trailer. I think the earliest one maybe that I found was from 2007, but the video quality wasn't that great. But I found one from 2008. So talk to me about this event. For those that don't know, IHSC stands for the International Hustle and Salsa Congress. So.
Right. International. It started out as the International Hustle and Salsa Competition and morphed into the International Hustle and Salsa Congress. Back in the day, we started this. Our first year was in 2000, I believe, that we did this the first time. It was a more social event than Summit is, in that it was like a 3-ring circus. it was the original pool party, right? We had a tent out at the pool with an actual dance floor, and everybody would go out and dance during the day. Social dancing all night, a full roster of competitions, which at the time was new, especially for the salsa world. That hadn't ever happened. But we had put together pro-ams, amateurs. Like Summit actually was modeled off of this event.
Gotcha.
Okay, because we had been doing this event. Summit started in like 2012, 13.
2013
right?
was the very first Summit. I've been at every
Oh, wow,
single
look
one.
at TNT. Oh, my goodness.
You guys, the lineup you guys had was really amazing. I mean, from the get-go. IHSC was actually my first Congress and my first competition that I ever went to. So,
yeah, it was the pioneer event for all the salsa competitions that have come since.
yes.
Really.
Is that a young Anya?
Yes, it is. It's her first event. She was working at Dance Sport and I think she danced with Luis
She
in
did.
that thing.
She did. That was her dancing. Now I was looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute. That was
Yep.
Anya.
And that was my ensemble there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had Dancation, I had my company, right? And so we were able to do these shows because I had an existing company and I would bring them in, and this was just like another performance for them. But I used to love doing IHSC because usually clients would tell me what they wanted. With this one, I got to do whatever I wanted. And we would come up with a concept every year. There was a gentleman at the beginning named Artie Phillips, and we would work together to do these things. And unfortunately, Artie passed away a while ago. But yeah, it was quite something. So we had the dinner show. We used to sit like 700-800 people for this dinner show on Saturday night. Part of the show a lot of times was this humongous rueda with like 20 couples. So we would get the top rueda dancers in Miami, and they would be part of the show on Saturday. But we had the competitions, you know, all the championships, and Albert Torres actually modeled, like he came to us to help him do competitions after, you know, but everybody modeled it off of this, even Puerto Rico. We were first. Yeah.
So with this,
I mean, they ended up doing their own versions, but we were first.
So you guys were before the Puerto Rico competition.
I'm sorry?
So you guys had your event before Puerto Rico?
Oh, God. Well, no, Puerto Rico Salsa Congress was a salsa congress.
Okay.
Eli came, I can't remember if it was the first or second year, but he came and saw our competitions and decided he wanted to do that. So then they started the Open.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pool parties at IHSC were definitely legendary for sure.
Yeah, well, the whole thing, I mean, we would be dancing literally till 5, 6 in the morning there.
Yeah. That's literally the last time I was at IHSC. I saw the sunrise almost every day.
There it is. Yep.
And that only happens to me at IHSC.
A lot of people say that. You know what else? A lot of people met their significant others there. Like every year, after a while, every year somebody was proposing after the Saturday show.
I love that.
Yeah, it's crazy. In a good way.
Oh, of course. But that's so good. I wonder how many actual like marriages have survived from there.
God knows.
This is a very fancy trailer, I must say. And I think this was for 2011.
Possibly. I mean, again, I had this company, this production company. I had it when I met Billy.
Yeah, no,
so
for sure.
What happened was the first year when we did our hotel contract, we had to meet a catering minimum. So because of that, I was like, oh, okay, well, I have all my stuff. I have my cast. I have everything we need. Let's just do a show on Saturday night. We'll do a dinner show. And we had no idea that first year the success that it would be. It was amazing. And so, so we did the show that first year, and then it became a tradition. And every year we had that Saturday night gala. So the gala now at Summit is a sort of a takeoff on what we used to do there. Not
Gotcha.
quite,
Not
right?
quite.
Yeah, but there it used to be the dinner show and a couple of championships, right?
When I think of Summit versus IHSC, I've always thought of IHSC as, yes, it's the hustle championships, but it's also a Congress. It's workshops and pool parties and all that. When I think of
Right.
Summit, I don't think I ever think of it as a party because I'm just there to compete and work. There's no, that makes
Yeah, well,
any
this
sense.
year we're going to have some more socials.
I
People
saw
are
it,
just so
different
excited to
schedule.
be dancing again.
I know.
So we're going to have a social Friday, Saturday, most like Sunday. We may have something Thursday. We're not positive yet.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I think I hit something. I
Yeah.
don't know what I hit on my video.
You there?
There, I'm here. I'm here. I had lost something for some reason, but we're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so World Salsa Summit
Oh, wow.
starting next week. Beautiful
Yep.
segue. Let's talk about this. World's biggest salsa Latin dance competition, I want to say. Not just
Yeah.
talk to me
Look
about
at
Summit.
that.
It's a very impressive trailer.
Yeah. But see remember before I was talking about the fact that competition breeds excellence?
Mm-hmm.
You look at this video, you can see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I mean, honestly, I've been in the Congress circuit for how many years? Long time. And when these competitions started to take, to get stronger, the performance level at the Congresses did too.
Yep.
I mean, I remember at the beginning when I went into the salsa world and you'd get a group of girls and, their grandmother was making their costumes in the basement and it was not what I would call, well, it wasn't particularly well done.
Yeah.
At the time. Very family, right? Which, I mean, there's something to be said for that too.
Yes.
But I know lineups have gotten much stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
And for a general paying guest, I think that's good.
Absolutely.
So.
I don't know why that had the old date on it, but that's why I took the picture off. That's not the date. That was the original date pre-COVID summit. This year is the 13th for the 20th.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that? I just want to get your take because obviously, 2020 was interesting to say the least. And, Summit got pushed back from the original January date and it got pushed to April and then it got pushed again to July. I mean, I don't want to make you relive all the trauma of it all. That's not the point of this, but talk to me about what this experience has been like for you, because I know this year has been different than the rest.
Yeah, when they first said that we were going to lock down for 2 weeks, I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Who in their right mind would have thought it would have been, what has it been now, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Basically?
Almost. We're almost at a year and a half.
I'm lucky because I'm in Florida. And so our governor fought a lot of things and we opened up much earlier. I mean, honestly, social dancing, I know the salsa socials have been going on since last November down here.
Yeah.
People, masks. I mean, because for me, I can't dance in a mask. Just can't. It makes me faint.
I was rehearsing in one for a really long time. It's
God
hard.
bless you.
It's hard.
Physically, I can't do it. But it's much more open down here. Luckily, we look around. We're not dropping like flies. So I not to bring politics into it, but I'm very thankful to Ron DeSantis for allowing that to happen.
Okay.
It was like I was going 110 miles an hour to zero in a pen stroke is basically what happened.
Yeah.
Dance, and special events are my entire life. So, and I'm not in my 20s anymore either. right? So it was almost, in a way, forcing an early retirement,
Okay.
right? In a way.
In a way.
Yeah. On the other hand, I had been traveling pretty much every weekend. I didn't even know how to not,
I know.
right?
We were so all used to living out of our suitcases, essentially. And then it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
put your suitcase in a closet and don't touch it for a year and a half. I personally haven't been anywhere since the last summit.
I went one place, one short flight. I just the mask on the airplane thing. I can't. So I have refrained from going.
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't gone anywhere. So I'm really excited and a little nervous to board
Yeah,
the plane in
yeah,
6 days and go down to Summit, but I'll be there.
yeah. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm starting to travel again right after Summit, and
Yeah,
it'll be my first flight in a while. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I'm glad everybody's coming here. I think July 1st was that magic date, and some of the countries are now, I'm noticing we're getting some registrations from places we didn't know if they'd be able to come or not,
okay.
right? So that's cool.
Because I really
But
hope.
yeah, I was really angry
Oh, I'm
for a
sure.
while.
I mean, as like I said, I've been to Summit since the very first year in 2013, and to watch the event grow year after year. I mean, it literally, I feel like it grows exponentially every year. And last year, I remember looking around the ballroom and thinking, this is the largest international crowd I've ever seen here.
Yeah.
Like you had Japan in large numbers, China, Australia, Italy, Uruguay. Like it's just
Name it.
every.
Yeah, I know. It was amazing.
And then with COVID and the rescheduling and everything, like I was just like, what will this year look like? If these other countries can't come, but thankfully, like you said, a lot of places are opening back up again. So hopefully we will get to see all of our friendly, familiar faces.
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say, the pattern, the registration pattern is different this year, right? Because nobody knew.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm sure there's going to be surprises. Look, I think we're probably all grateful to be able to even have the event finally.
Oh,
and
for
just
sure.
get out of the house and go dance and get back to some form of normalcy.
Yeah.
Right?
Goals, setting goals again, like trying to push. It feels so great
Yeah.
to be back in rehearsals. So.
Yeah, I probably gained, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I gained like 10 pounds just sitting in front of the television. What else are you going to do?
We all did, but once I started dancing again and training because Summit was coming up, it started to all come off again.
You see? You start training again and it came off.
Well, I mean, you said this before, like you talked about how it's impossible to do anything on your own, right? Like with your career with Billy, there were always other coaches and everything. But when you live by yourself and your skill set is to fly in the air, it's really hard to train on your own. So I had to come up with different exercises to work on core rotation and like God knows you had to get creative because it was just like I can't not train for a year.
Yeah.
Right? Because certain skill sets you just gotta keep going.
Yeah, well, and I mean, from my experience,
Mm-hmm.
and I do all different kinds of dance, right?
Yes.
There is nothing like the workout that you get from doing cabaret work.
So true.
It is the most intense thing I've ever done in my life, even more than gymnastics.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I believe
crazy. It. But I mean, and so, you don't realize the calories that you use up doing that kind of work until you stop. Right?
Do you think, I mean, I know that with cabaret, some tricks are more the guy, some tricks are more the girl, some are like an even balance. But do you think it's harder for the woman? for the flyer, or is it harder for the bottom?
Everybody has to do their part, or it doesn't happen.
Of course, of course. But that being
with Billy
said,
and I,
mhm.
it was always equal work, or we wouldn't have been able to do what we did.
So you don't think that it's either harder on the girl or the guy?
Weight-wise, I was I'm not a tiny little thing, right? I don't weigh 80 pounds or whatever. So in order to make our stuff happen, he relied on me a way lot. And like when we would teach, he would, like certain lifts he would show, he would just stand there and go, okay, so this is the girl's trick. Watch Katie just do this. Now, I could do it in the class, but really in practice, you know, we were both working because it worked much more smoothly.
Oh, of course.
Right? But I like to think that it's equal and opposite. Not equal and opposite, but everybody has to do their part or it's not going to happen.
Well, that's for sure. There's definitely needs to be.
And the other thing about it is, like, let's say you have like 5 of these things, 5 of these lift sequences in your routine.
Mm-hmm.
If the first one doesn't go well and one of the partners has to work too hard, the rest of the routine is going to be affected.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because you have to conserve your strength. You have to know when to use it, when to breathe and when to work harder, and right. Yep. And not to let anybody see the work.
There's one particular trick that I absolutely love when I do it with Darlin, because it's work for me for like a second, the equal work when it's the one where like the guy, let's go, and you're just hanging on the neck. And I love that trick because I always tell him I get at least 2 8 counts to catch my breath.
Right, just arch.
Just
if you're in the right spot. I mean, if you're not in the right spot, you're just trying to get balanced, right?
Oh yeah.
If you hit that sweet spot, you can just arch your back and let it go, right?
Yep. When I hit that sweet spot, I go, and I can I'm like, I got 2 8 counts to reset my breathing, stabilize. Okay, I'm back to work. You know, so yeah. I totally get that, but I love it. We are. Oh my God, it's already 2:12. We've gone a little over, but that's because there's so much to talk about because you've had such an incredible career. You've done so much. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask you the same question I ask every guest. If there was a piece of advice you could give to women who want to make it in this dance industry, what would that piece of advice be?
There's actually 2.
Okay.
You made me think about this.
Okay.
The first one is versatility.
Okay.
I think that the more you know, the more marketable you are. So don't be like a one dance wonder. Don't snub your nose at different styles. Oh, I don't like that because, you know, I think the more you know, the more you're going to work. At least that's been true for me.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. Absolutely.
You know, one of the things, I mean, as it turned out, just based on my art forms, I've had ballet all my life, forms of it, right? I think it's important. It is the basis for everything. And do a bar. Learn how to do a bar. Learn how to work tendus and point your feet and work through first. And I think that those things are really important. I mean, that's not the same, you know, just sort of going there. But the other thing is what I stressed before. If you really want to get to a high level, nobody does it alone. You will not learn this on YouTube. Get the best help and mentorship that you can. And don't be afraid to give credit where it's due. Right?
Agreed.
We are not islands.
Absolutely.
We work together. Teamwork always works best.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you not only for coming onto my show today, but for also being a mentor to me. I have looked up to you for many, many, many years. I distinctly actually remember you came up to me after my first time at IHSC. I was standing outside smoking a cigarette. So bad. I know, I'm horrible. But I was smoking a cigarette and you came up to me and with you and Billy and you said, I've never seen you here before, but you did great this weekend and you need to go pro. And I just went, okay.
Like, oh, I was right, wasn't I?
You were. Thank you very much. You were. But it's really been amazing to watch you over these years, to get to know you over these years. And, you know, you've been a sounding board for me for a lot. You're someone I respect very much. I look up to very much. And I just want to thank you for being such a great guide and mentor to me and so many others in this business.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet.
I cannot wait to see you next week. I'll give you the biggest hug. We're
Yeah.
going to be reunited at Summit. Yay.
Gonna hit you up. Hit you up for some help, maybe.
Call me. We'll talk.
Yep.
We'll talk for sure. Just a reminder to all of the viewers, next week there will not be an episode. I will not be broadcasting live from Summit. I got to be in competition mode. So I'm going to take off the host hat.
Indeed.
Put on my competition hat and apparently maybe my helper hat. But we'll see. We'll see.
But I'm excited to see you.
I'm excited to see you too. And I will be back the following week live with Isabel Freiberger from New York.
Cool.
I love her. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much, Katie, for being on the show. Love you all. And I will see you in 2 weeks on the next episode of Women of Dance.